The last type of variation that we have is called inverse variation. Now for inverse variation, you can word this several ways. You can say y varies inversely with x, or y is inversely proportional to x. Those are the two most common. Okay, so those are the ones that you'll see in this course. And what it means is just y equals k over x. So instead of multiplying by x as you would if it said y is proportional to, or y varies with, or y varies directly with, you divide by the x instead. Notice the k is still in the numerator, so the k is always in the numerator. The constant k, constant of proportionality, still called the constant of proportionality. Okay, so this is still a very simple equation. I'm just making a note that k is never in the denominator. So the previous types, the direct or even joint and inverse variation, can be combined. So for example, suppose I had y varies directly with x squared and z cubed, and inversely with w and square root of t. Well, everything that says inversely with, everything after that is in the denominator. And the things where it says directly, or it could have said jointly, because there's two of them, x squared and z cubed, where it says directly, those go in the numerator. And then don't forget the k. If you forget the k, you can't do the problem. It won't work. Okay, so you have y equals, and you'll have the k, x squared, z cubed, over w and square root of t. So it varies inversely with the w and square root of t. That's why they're in the denominator. It varies directly with x squared and z cubed. That's why those are in the numerator. And then I have my k, my constant of proportionality there. So here's an example that I'll work out. Y varies directly with x. If y equals 5 when x equals 2, what is y when x equals 3? Okay, so I colored these different colors, red and purple, because they're two different sets of information and you have to use them separately. The first set of information, you have values for x and y. The second set, you only have x. So what happens is, when you write out the equation, you'll see that there's three letters, x, y, and k. So the first set of information, they give you x and y, and you use it to solve for k. Once you find k, you put that back in the original equation, and then you have k and x, and you use that to find y. So here we go. So we got, first write out the equation, write it down. Y varies directly with x, y equals kx. Don't start plugging numbers in yet, just write down the equation, just with the letters. Now you're going to plug in the first set of information they gave you. Y is 5 when x is 2. And then you see, just by cross multiplying the 2 here, you can see you get k is 5/2. So now you know what k is. And k is a constant. So if you change x or change y, the k isn't going to change now that we've figured out what k is. Okay, so that k is 5/2. Go back to the original equation, y equals kx. Put the 5/2 in there, but not the previous values of k, not those red values of not the previous values of x and y, not the 2 and the 5. You're not putting those in. Just k. Now x and y are going to vary, hence the word variation. So it says, what is y when x is 3? So see, they varied the value of x, and that'll change the value of y. And so you just plug x into this equation that we have with the k in it, plug x in there, and you can see what y is. And they could have given us y, and then you solve for x as well, right? Either way works. So they said x was 3, so I get y equals 5/2 times 3, and that gives me y is 15/2. That's my answer. Okay? So I did these in 2 columns for a reason, and you might want to, if you have any trouble with this at all, you might want to write them in 2 columns. The first column, I have the original equation, y equals kx, and then I put them in my original set of information that I'm using just to find what k is. Then I go back to the right column And next to the original equation, y equals kx, right next to it, I write it with the k that I've now computed, y equals 5/2 x. Then I go back and read the problem again and see if they told me, they're going to tell me either x or y, and I have to solve for the other one. They gave me x is 3, I plug it in, I find y is 5/15. So the way I wrote this out is extremely systematic, and I would suggest that you do that. You don't have to do the 2-column thing if you can get through this with no confusion. If you get confused, then try arranging it this way and see if that helps straighten out the trouble that you're having.